The fight. Oh. My God, what a shot.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment down below and I just might end up responding. While most wrestling fans are well past their "it's still real to me, damn it" phase, there's still a lot of fan investment that can go towards making any given moment in wrestling really emotional. For example, the next 10 matches on this list and how difficult it was watching these titans fall to the wayside. I'm D-Wicked from Watch WWE, and here's the 10 most heartbreaking WWE losses of all time. Number 10, The Rock over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Perhaps the greatest rivalry in this entire sports history, Dwayne Johnson and Steve Austin's feud over who had the best mineral-related nicknames spanned throughout the entire Attitude Era and then some, taking place on 3 separate WrestleManias.
The one thing that The Rock has not done, one thing, is whoop that bald candy ass at WrestleMania.
Their final grandest stage brawl would be the only one of their 3 matches to fall from main event spot to the co-position, and was also the final match of Stone Cold Steve Austin's entire career. While we didn't fully know that at the time going into it, the problems Austin had earlier in his career came back around to haunt him, resulting in an early retirement from wrestling.
Big one. Oh, a hook of a leg. And the inside on it. History has been made.
Number 9, Randy Orton over Daniel Bryan. SummerSlam 2013 has 2 of the most emotional WWE matches of this entire decade, and they're so memorable for totally opposite feelings. In the main event slot, Daniel Bryan finally crawled his way to the top of the card and challenged John Cena for his WWE Championship.
Look at this. This is incredible.
With Triple H at the helm on the referee spot and all of the Staples Center on their feet, we loved getting to watch Daniel Bryan finally ascend to the top and win the big one. Then, immediately afterwards, our hearts were crushed in 2 by a Triple H pedigree, a Randy Orton theme hit, and a Money in the Bank cash-in. Number 8, The Undertaker over Shawn Michaels.
You know something, Undertaker? I can beat you.
So you can almost always count on the lighter matches from the streak to deliver on in-ring content as well as a shit ton of fan investment. Taker stepping up and never falling every year became such a legendary tradition that it truly was the last ever real remnant of kayfabe. People really gave a shit about seeing these matches every year, so much to the point where non-wrestling fans almost always know who The Undertaker is. Well, his best WrestleMania partner was always Shawn Michaels, and while the first was the better match, the sequel had about 200% more investment and the proper main event slot on the card that it deserved. With Michaels' career on the line, this might have been the only streak match that a lot of people were really rooting against Taker, but alas, HBK was the Titan to fall. Number 7, Ivan Koloff over Bruno Sammartino.
Koloff going up to that top rope now. He's up against the top. Oh, down with that big Russian leg drop across Sammartino.
Alright, I'm not going to try sitting here and pretending like I know jack or shit about this era of wrestling, because this is the 60s, seeing as I was around -40 at the time. However, historical significance can't be overlooked, and Bruno Sammartino's is that of a literal legend. Holding the WWF Championship only twice might not sound that impressive, but then you look at the numbers and realize that those 2 reigns add up to a total of 11 goddamn years. So yeah, naturally people got pretty accustomed to seeing Bruno Sammartino with that belt, so after his reign was cut short at around 7 years in by Ivan Koloff, you can imagine it was a sight to see.
Oh, you can hear a pin drop. First time ever. We got a new champion.
Number 6, Shawn Michaels over Bret Hart. Sort of. You don't really see the Montreal Screwjob popping up on lists that often these days, and there's a simple reason for that. There's an era of Watch WWE that lasted maybe a year where the pipe bomb and the MSG curtain call incident were on basically every list, but the Montreal Screwjob was probably on 75% of all videos coming out at the time. Basically, it's been talked to death, But it's really fitting here, seeing as Hart's loss, unlike many others on this list, had actual real-life ramifications backstage. Bret was already on his way out of the company to the competition, but things were a lot smoother sailing before Vince came out and, well, you know, lost the best wrestler in his company.
Everyone was confused.
Are you kidding me?
Number 5, The Ultimate Warrior over Randy Savage. WrestleMania 7 is memorable for a good few things. WWF Champion Turncoat Sergeant Slaughter, Virgil beating Ted DiBiase, The Undertaker's first WrestleMania victory, and, of course, the retirement match between The Ultimate Warrior and the Macho King, Randy Savage. While Randy wasn't on his way out the door of the company just yet, he was looking to take a little break from the ring, hence a retirement match, since they never really mean shit anyways. Of course, people didn't know this back in 1991, that a retirement match didn't really mean anything, and the fans really thought this is the last that they'd seen of Savage. Making that memory last even longer was the sensational Sherry turning her back on Randy and kicking him while he was down, only for former love, Miss Elizabeth, to come out, make the save, and refurbish that relationship.
Whoever leaves, leaves. But the call of this man, look at this! It's over! Oh my God, no!
Number 4, The Rock over John Cena. Imagining a John Cena loss as heartbreaking is probably kind of difficult for some people, but all context considered, this was definitely one of the roughest spots in Big Match's career. John Cena would lose at WrestleMania 27 to The Miz thanks to The Rock setting up their main event the following year for WrestleMania. For an entire year, this massive task just sat in the back of John Cena's mind, weighing him down, and we really got to see it weigh him down too, seeing as John spent the next year getting his ass handed to him on several occasions. Loss after loss, pinfall after pinfall. John finally made his way up to WrestleMania needing victory, but ended off the night watching the lights. Number 3, Bret Hart over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh yeah, it's sort of obvious by now, but all the rest of the moments are from WrestleMania. This shit is the show of shows for a reason, okay? WWE loves to push WrestleMania as its big moment maker, and there aren't as many moments with the significance as this match is. On his rise to become the top WWF star of probably all time, Steve Austin had to overcome his biggest adversary yet, Bret the Hitman Hart. The match would go on to be an all-time classic, giving us the best ever example of a double turn inside of that ring, with the match ending on a heroic note when Steve Austin refused to give up and Bret Hart relentlessly tried to hurt the Rattlesnake even after the match was all over.
Ken Shamrock, stopping it right now. That's it. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin had it out. Austin is unconscious.
Number 2, Shawn Michaels over Ric Flair. I'm sorry, I love you, Shawn Michaels said to Ric Flair before shoving his boot down the Nature Boy's throat. I mean, yeah, it's a 40-year veteran, all-time legend, maybe the greatest to ever do it, being put down and out, retired for good, except those years in TNA that we don't really talk about. It doesn't get simpler than that, man. This match was Ric Flair's goodbye.
Flair wants to fight. Oh.
And number 1, Brock Lesnar over The Undertaker. Like we already mentioned earlier on this list, few things hold as much fan investment as a WrestleMania matchup featuring The Undertaker, or at least that was true for a very, very long time. Not until 5 years ago, 2014, WrestleMania 30, did that feeling die. The last remnant of kayfabe, the only thing a lot of wrestling fans still really held out to watch, and probably the least expected loss of all time, Brock Lesnar's dominant win over The Undertaker to kill the streak will probably go down as one of the most controversial matches in WWE history, and honestly would probably take that top spot if it wasn't for the Montreal Screwjob. The one good camera cut in history, the look on that one black fan's face, it's just told the story for the last 5 years perfectly. What in the fuck did we just watch?
The streak is over.
And those are 10 of the most heartbreaking, soul-crushing, devastating WWE defeats of all time. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below after liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and notifications-ing that bell.